I fall asleep under the trees. I follow where the current leads. Whispers in the woods, they call to me. Listen as the wind awakes the leaves.
Welcome to the Wellness Project Podcast. I am your host, Wilson. Each episode aims to bring mental health awareness through exploring psychoeducation, scholarly literature, professional interviews, and the personal stories of people's journey to mental wellness. So, with that said, let's get started.
I can feel the mountains come alive. It feels like my whole life I've been...
This podcast is not intended to be a substitute for therapy. If you are experiencing mental distress, please seek professional help. So there's all different types of therapies. And if you're in therapy, you should ask whoever's providing that therapy to explain to you what is their theoretical orientation. You know, are they person-centered? Are they psychoanalytical? Are they cognitive behavioral? There's all different types. And to be honest, we're still coming up with new ones. So it's kind of a cool thing, but one of my personal favorites is called Dialectical Behavior Therapy, DBT, and it was founded by Dr. Marcia Linehan, who now is a professor of psychology and a professor of psychiatry and behavioral science at the University of Washington, and the director of the Behavioral Research and Therapy Clinics. So this is new. I don't know the exact date. I want to say the 70s, and I believe it was starting to, or how should I phrase that? They introduced this type of therapy to folks diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. And then from there, they've tried it on, various other populations. And the format or the method behind dialectical behavior therapy is these 4 modules of psychological and emotional functioning. And they focus on the following 4: mindfulness, interpersonal effectiveness, distress tolerance, and emotional regulation. So if you kind of hit on those 4 areas through more of like a systematic and gradual approach, it can provide people with mental wellness. So I think that's pretty cool. So sort of staying on track with a little bit of background information on dialectical behavioral therapy, I found this cool article by Laura Shankick. She's a PhD and LPC, which means she's a licensed professional counselor as well. And she has this article called Listening Blocks. And she sort of took these 10 blocks of listening from the Dialectical Behavioral Therapy Skills book, which I own, by the way. It's a good book. Let's just go through the list. So if you're ready to listen, let's get into it. Number 1, mind reading. Assuming that we already know what it is that the other person thinks or feels without ever asking them. Number 2, rehearsing. And that's planning out what we want to say next in our minds and then missing what's actually being said right now. Number 3, filtering. And that's listening only to that which we believe to be important or relevant to us personally, while missing the full context or what is important to the other person. Number 4, we've got judging. And that's when you evaluate what the other person is saying without really attempting to empathize or understand how they view the world. Number 5, I find myself doing this, daydreaming, and that's getting lost in our own thoughts and memories while someone is talking to us right now. Number 6 is advising. And that's jumping to give solutions or suggestions rather than just simply listening and understanding. Number 7, sparring. That's invalidating the other person by being argumentative or debating. It's like looking to fight or compete in some way rather than just listen. Number 8, being right. And that's when you're ignoring or resisting any evidence that you're wrong and that you should change. It's being defensive, basically. All right, if you're still with me, only 2 more to go. We've got number 9, derailing. And that's when you're immediately changing the subject when something feels threatening or upsetting. You're sort of like shutting down. And the last one, which I don't mean to laugh, but it's just an interesting word that I had never heard before. Number 10 is called placating. That's Placating, placating. And what this means is that you're being quick to agree with whatever is being said to end the discussion, without really listening to feelings or concerns. So this is that person that's like, okay, yep, yep, you're right, gotcha, yep. And it can be rather annoying. But also, they're not even listening to you. So if someone's doing this, just gently, have them stop, say, look, I understand that you might disagree with me, but this is my point of view. And I hope we can find some common ground. I have this other article here that probably I've referenced a lot. And for a while there, it would have been almost monthly. I was talking about this article. It's called The 11 Red Signs of Gaslighting in a Relationship. So remember, in dialectical behavioral therapy, interpersonal effectiveness and emotional regulation and distress tolerance, those are 3 really important parts of that style of therapy. And there's mindfulness, but this article was by Stephanie Sharkis. She's a PhD, and let's just kind of get into it. So what is gaslighting? I'm sure we're all familiar with it now, but gaslighting is a manipulation tactic used to gain power. Gosh, how do we even get into this? It really works better than what you might think. Now, who are these gaslighters, right? It could be anyone. It could be your friend, could be the person down the street, could be your own child. You could even be gaslighting and maybe you're not even aware of it. So anyone is susceptible to gaslighting. And it's a common technique of all types of folks. So let's just get into this and we'll see how we can go through it. So number 1, gaslighters tell blatant lies. And it's an outright lie. Yet they're telling you this lie with a straight face. Now, why would they do that, right? Even though they know that they're wrong, they would do it just to throw you off. So gaslighters try to sort of get the person to question their own reality. And then you end up taking everything from them. So number 2, they deny that they ever said something, even though you have proof. Again, this is just another manipulation tactic to be like, man, like maybe they didn't say that, or maybe I had it wrong, but you have the proof. Number 3, they use what is near and dear to you as ammunition. Things like your kids, things like your identity, like your job, like your hobbies, or things that you find enjoyment in. Your in-laws, your own family, they will try to threaten you in a real slow, passive way to get you to stay with them. Again, number 4 is that they wear you down over time. Number 5, their actions don't match their words. So like when you're dealing with a person that's gaslighting, always look at what they're doing rather than what they're saying. Number 6, it's tricky, these gaslighters, because they'll throw in positive reinforcement just to confuse you, like a little comment here, you're really doing well. And then 2 seconds later, they're tearing you down. Number 7, they know that confusion weakens people. Gaslighters know that people like, a sense of stability and normalcy. So their goal is to slowly uproot the person from that. Number 8, they will project, even though they're the drug user or the cheater, yet they're constantly accusing you of doing that. And that's done so that way you're spending more time trying to defend yourself and are distracted from the gaslighter's own behavior. Got a few more here. Number 9, they try to align people against you. So the gaslighters know that if other people are against you or treating you poorly, that then you'll want to be more with the gaslighter and gain their trust that way. Number 10, they tell you or others that you're crazy. This is one of the most effective tools of gaslighters because it's dismissive. So the gaslighter knows that if they question your sanity, then people won't believe you when you tell them that the gaslighter is the one that's out of control. And the last one is number 11, they tell you everyone else is a liar. Like by telling you that your family or your friends are lying to you, it again makes you question your reality. It makes you turn to the gaslighter for the correct information, which isn't correct information at all. So going back to dialectical behavioral therapy, it focuses on being aware of your own behavior and how important that is to your mental wellness. Again, there's that interpersonal effectiveness skills. When are we taught to deal with interpersonal conflicts effectively? That voice in your head? Do you give the voice room to feel heard? How do we learn how to improve relationships with others, those you are close to, as well as strangers? And then there's emotional regulation. I've often thought about how are how do we relate to one another? You know? I mean, I can't physically connect with what is in your head. If you have a headache, I mean, I know what a headache feels like to me, but I don't know what a headache feels like to you. So I don't think we can physically connect. I can't mentally connect or spiritually connect either. Those are personal things. However, in thinking about it, I do think that we emotionally connect. I'll give you an example. Have you ever watched someone stub their toe on the end of a coffee table? Ugh, you cringe, right? It's like you felt the pain that person also is experiencing. Complete emotional control is not the goal of dialectical behavioral therapy. To a certain extent, we all are who we all are, and emotionality is part of us. Spending time to understand and name emotions, changing your emotional responses, reducing vulnerability to feelings, and managing difficult emotions better. Distress tolerance. What a cool concept. Helping yourself to better cope with distress rather than trying to avoid it or to stay away from stress is just impossible. In fact, I think we need stress in our lives. You see, stress is broken down into two types. There's distress, the bad kind, and then there's eustress, eustress, the sort of helpful kind. In other words, eustress is more likely to feel challenging but manageable, whereas distress is more likely to feel unmanageable or even overwhelming. Eustress might feel like frustration or worry, but also fulfilling, and it can foster happiness, whereas distress is more likely to include anxiety, panic, or hopelessness. Distress tolerance is about learning to tolerate and survive crisis situations without making things worse. So there are crisis survival skills and reality acceptance skills within DBT. The last one is mindfulness, and I'd like to spend a couple minutes and explore mindfulness a little bit more with you. It focuses on experiencing ultimate reality, sensing our intimate connection with the entire universe, and developing a sense of freedom. Mindfulness to me is about giving up control and being in the moment. We are intentionally living with awareness in the present moment, without judging or rejecting the moment, without attachment to the moment. In DBT, core mindfulness skills are called the wise mind. It's the what skills: observing, describing, and participating. And then there's the how skills: non-judgmentality, one mindfully, effectively. So let's break them up apart. Practicing a wise mind. This is a bit of a mindfulness exercise if you're wanting to listen. It's about the what. So it's called Stone Flake on the Lake. Imagine you're by a clear blue lake on a beautiful sunny day. Then imagine that you're a tiny flake of a stone, flat and light. Imagine that you've been tossed out onto the lake and are now gently, slowly floating through the blue, clear water to the lake's smooth, sandy bottom. Notice what you see and feel as you float down, perhaps in slow circles, drifting toward the bottom. As you reach the bottom of the lake, settle your attention within yourself. Notice the serenity of the lake. Become aware of the calmness and quiet deep within. As you reach the center of yourself, settle your attention there. Another part of mindfulness is the observing self. And you can do this in a variety of sensory outputs. There's your eyes, the sounds, the smells, the taste, you know the list. So some examples are observing with your eyes. You can sit outside, watch who and what is going on before you without following them with your head or your eyes. And then with sound, stop for a moment and just listen. Listen to the texture and the shape of the sounds around you. Listen to the silences between the sounds. And with smell, breathing in, notice any smells around you. Bring something real close to your nose and notice the smell. Take it away and then notice the smells again. Do they linger? And with taste, eat a meal or even part of a meal, paying attention to the taste of every mouthful. Notice urges to do something. Notice any urge to avoid someone or something. Observe the sensations of touch on your skin. Focus on the place in your body where you feel tight or tense. Focus your attention on the sensations in your chest, your stomach, on your shoulders. Observe your breathing. Breathe evenly and gently, focusing your attention on the moment or the movement in your stomach. You see, for some reason, we're taught to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. And that works, but mindfulness is more about breathing in and out through your nose. The pauses of breathing and the sensations in your nose as you breathe in and as you breathe out. Observe thoughts coming in and out of your mind. Ask, where do the thoughts come from? Imagine that your mind is the sky and that the thoughts are clouds. Notice each thought cloud as it drifts by, letting it drift in and out of your mind. So those are all the what's. Non-judgmentality. See, but don't evaluate as good or bad. Acknowledge your values, your wishes, and your emotional reactions, but don't judge them. In other words, don't judge your judging. One mindfully. Do one thing at a time. When you're eating, eat. When you're walking, walk. When you're worrying, actually worry. When you're planning, plan. When you're remembering, remember. And then there's effectively. Be mindful of your goals in any situation. And focus on what works. You got to play by the rules, but act as skillfully as you can. Notice the willfulness within yourself and ask yourself, is this effective?
Hold each other close, walking in the rain. You were like a picture and I the frame. You were like the air and I a plane.
By the way, at the Wellness Project, we have merchandise. That's right, all mental health awareness themed products. We've got artwork, we've got shirts, we've got hats, we've got candles. We're gonna have one for like anxiety awareness, depression awareness, wellness awareness, which is actually out right now. That's right, you can get your own wellness awareness candle. What does it smell like, right? You have to come in and check it out. But if you hit me up on Facebook, or you can email me and I can give you that information. And thank you for your support.
There's a million places I could go, but so